I've come to the end of my journey, coming down, going up to the Whitsundays and back again. You know, diesel engines, everybody's diesel engine, all my uncles and all my friends have, got diesel engines. They always end up, they blow black smoke or whatever, and when it all comes down to it, it's the injectors. One of the injectors has failed, and one of the valves is not seating properly due to being rusted under the valve seat, and or the top of the piston's pitted. Now, my theory is with this is that everyone has a pond box in them, which is where the water gets injected through. It goes through a pond box, which is a kind of box which kind of collects the water and then blows it over the back of the boat. The water in the line collects back in the pond box. So you've always got about 2 litres, 3 litres of water in your pond box. And when you shut your engine down and you go home, you've got this water in your exhaust line. And of course it gets hot and it gets humid in this line, and the line goes all the way back to the valve. Now, when an engine shuts down, it always stops exactly in the same place. So one valve will always be open. So what happens is that all that humidity goes back up through the pipe, back into your exhaust chamber there inside the engine, along the engine where all the ports are, and it finds the one that's open. And a little bit of condensation goes around the ring, around where the valve seat goes up and down, because it's not covered in carbon exactly where the valve seats down. It's lovely polished steel, and it rusts. And then if it gets worse than that, it goes inside the cylinder where it's open, and it corrodes the injector spray nozzle. There's the injector and then there's the spray nozzle, and it gets rust on there, and then maybe into the injector, and over a period of time. But I've been on, and everybody's bloody head I've taken off is always only one valve that's rusted. And if you think about it sensibly, you go, well, that's because there's the humidity in the exhaust rust that frigging valve out. So every time I leave the boat for an extended period of time, I undo the pipe clip that's on the exhaust, push the pipe off the exhaust, put a bung in it, and put a bung in the outside as well, so that this last year, if I'd have left without disconnecting the exhaust on the boat, the exhaust basically comes straight through the back of the boat, into the pond box, straight out of the pond box, round and into the engine, probably 6 inches above the waterline. But the exhaust is about 6 inches above the waterline also. So when you get big winds, we're in a tidal tidal river here. When you get the winds blowing one way and the current going out the other, you get a big slop on the back of the boat, and it goes up in the exhaust and it carries right up, and if you didn't have it disconnected, it would go into the engine. Now how people on quite a few boats get over that, they have a swan neck on the back of the boat, which is, so it kind of goes like that and then out the back of the boat, or down through the bottom of the boat above the waterline at the back. So which also creates back pressure when you start to get suck the water onto the back of the boat, and you've got a 90-degree forcing it out. There's quite a lot of pressure there to overcome the water going by, so you get quite bad back pressure, which also affects the engine. So anyway, what I do is I've come to the conclusion, just disconnect the exhaust, put a bung in the end of the exhaust, put a bung in the back of the boat. I use a plug in the back of the boat, so that when I pull the bung out and I connect the exhaust back up to the boat, do my Jubilee clap, turn the water on, start the engine, and the plug in the back of the boat just gets blown out on a piece of string, and flies up and wraps around the push bit, and that seems to work. And I know that saved me this last year from a great expense of having to take the head off the engine and clean all the bloody salt water out of it. A lot of cruising boats of this age, you know, this was I think 87, so 25 years anyway, old, and it can be even less than that. They've generally got diesel bug because they never get, the engine never gets used enough, so they end up with the black crud in the tank. Now you can buy some stuff to put in there that kills the black stuff, and but you still got it in the tank and between all the baffles and everything. So, and whatever you do, it stays there. If you were to use your engine all the time like you do in the car, the filter would, it uses more diesel, it pumps more diesel than it uses. So every time it goes through the filter, it comes back to it only uses a quarter of what you use that it pumps, and it goes back to, so it all goes through the filter. So actually it cleans the diesel all the time. And but if your engine's not going and you leave it for 4 or 5 months, or 3 or 4 months, it gets humidity in the tank, and this bloody bacteria, black bacteria, grows. And basically what can happen is you go out perfectly alright, and then you get to some rough weather, which has happened to me twice now. Damn thing stops. As soon as you go through the rough weather, all that black crud ends up in your filter, stops the engine. And then you've got to change the filter, at sea when it's really rough and everything else, and it takes a while, and you end up with diesel all in your bilge and everything else. But it can be done. Bleed the injectors, and probably in half an hour you'll have your engine going again. But it's half an hour that you might not be able to afford to have when you're coming into a place where there's rocks and everything else. So you always have this doubt about your engine. So even in this one here, I decided I'd bite the bullet, and the tank is actually was put in before the joinery, and the fiberglass joinery is put in. So I actually had to cut the fiberglass out, pull the tank out, and wash it out and put it back in, which I did, and it was like about 2-week effort to do this, 2 weekends to get the tank out, get it cleaned out and everything, but it's been well worth it. Just the peace of mind knowing that your tank is perfectly clean inside, so what diesel you put in, and then I still put a bit of diesel conditioner in every time before I leave the boat. I drop a bit in on my last fill, enough just to stop the diesel bug from starting off. Well, thank you for listening to my rant, and all the best and good luck with your own sailing wherever you are. I'm really enjoying mine, and this year I won't be going back up to the Whitsundays, I don't think. I've got a son at school, and I want to see him get through and get a reasonable OP. I did the same for my daughter, and I'm going to do, you have to be equal with these things, so I'm going to do the same for him. And then the year after, I'm hoping that my wife will, who's a teacher, who's 5 or 6 years younger than me, so doesn't want to retire yet, but will take long service leave, and we'll both go off together for 10 weeks, and she'll sail up to the Whitsundays with me, and I'm hoping to do it with at the same time as the Shag Islet Yacht Club, where she can, which is a great way of going up with your wife, because I don't need social interaction, but my wife does. So if we go with a group of people, she can go and talk to all these other women on these boats and be quite happy having cups of tea, and I'll have to do a bit of social interaction as well. But hopefully they won't have seen my videos, so I'll be all right there.